I went to a concert at school and I saw this like older kid playing the flute and he like rocked the shit out of it and I was like, wow, oh my god, I want to do that. And my dad is now like obsessed. He like listens to Radio 1 all day long and he's like,
so he's a tastemaker now.
Oh god, trust me, my dad hits me up and he's like, have you heard this person? You should totally collab with them. And I'm like, Dad, chill. She was playing at the arena in Liverpool. Yeah. And we had like these huge baggy like Katy Perry t-shirts and we were like, they had like Crew on the back. There's this place in Ibiza called Dort Villa, which is like this old heritage site. But they had like Annie Mac did a night and then the Disclosure guys did a night there and I got to play both nights. Scott was like, oh shit, you should come down to the studio where we're filming. And I was like, okay, but I still didn't know if Pharrell was going to be there and stuff. Yeah. So we went down to the studio and like I was meeting a load of people, then all of a sudden this guy walks up to the circle and he's like, oh, this is Pharrell, and he's like, hi, I'm Pharrell. And I was like,
hi, today I'm here with SG Lewis.
yo, what's up?
So you were born in Reading?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Reading. I went to Liverpool, I lived there for a bit. So some people think that I'm Scouse, but I'm not. And now I live in South London. Yeah,
were your parents also born in Reading or?
Yeah, so they kind of close to there in a place called Maidenhead. So they're both like really local and just sort of now live quite close to where they grew up.
What do they do?
Nothing musical. Like my dad, my dad's like a printer. He has like a printing business, and my mum just like sells stuff. And so yeah, like none of my family are musical at all. So like when I was like, oh, I want to get into music, they were like, okay, cool, but like, how do you do that? Like, so my dad, when I told my dad that I wanted to be a musician, he was like totally supportive, but he thought that meant that my entire life I would be like busking and that's how I'd be making my money.
Yeah, that's a lot of parents think, damn.
Yeah, so he was like super supportive, but he had no idea how I was going to make money. So yeah, but once like I started being able to like fund myself and stuff, he was like kind of surprised.
But you did guitar at a young age, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I sort of started out in bands and stuff. I was just like that kid that sat in his room playing guitar a lot of the time.
Did you teach yourself or?
No, I had lessons actually, because the first instrument I ever picked up was actually the flute.
Wow.
Yeah, not really cool. Actually, if you learn jazz flute, then like Ron Burgundy kind of made it cool. But I went to a concert at school and I saw this like older kid playing the flute and he like rocked the shit out of it. And I was like, wow, oh my god, I want to do that. So I did that for a year and I was like, oh, this is kind of lame.
Did you perform or it was just kind of like alone?
I think I did. I was young. And I think I did this concert and I pissed myself on the stage.
Oh.
So then after that I was like, oh god, and I think that kind of scarred me in terms of my flute playing. So then I started playing guitar and I kind of became completely obsessed with it. And I was like, I would say I was good at one point, like in terms of being able to turn around and be like, yeah, I'm like a good guitarist. And then once I got into production, I sort of stopped playing so much guitar. I'm trying to get back into it now, and the live show and stuff has like forced me to start playing more again, and also just like being interested in certain genres again and stuff. But
how many bands were you in?
I was only ever in one or two, and they were both like cover bands because I always wanted to take it a lot more seriously. But my friends played instruments and stuff, but they always just wanted to come around, and I'd invite them around for rehearsal. I'd be like, right, okay, we're gonna rehearse, and they'd be like, yeah, but let's go play FIFA first, and then they'd be like, oh, I'm kind of hungry, I want some lunch. Or we'd play FIFA. We'd have some lunch and I'd be like, right, it's time to practice. They'd be like, oh shit, it's time to go. Like,
yeah, damn.
Oh, I got somewhere to be. Like, they didn't really take it seriously. But, so all the bands around them were terrible. But yeah.
What kind of music did your parents play in the house when you were growing up?
This is the mad thing. Honestly, not a lot at all. Like, it's one of the weirdest kind of. Most people that are into music say like, oh, you know, my dad played like Stevie Wonder or whatever, but honestly growing up like there wasn't a lot of music in the house, and it's really weird because my whole family is so music focused now. My brother works in music and
oh wow, what does he do?
So he runs an independent record label, and then he also works in finance at Sony. So the label's called Lemon Records, go check it out. They've got some amazing stuff out. And my dad is now like obsessed. He like listens to Radio 1 all day long, and he's like,
so he's a tastemaker now.
Oh god, trust me, my dad hits me up and he's like, have you heard this person? You should totally collab with them. And I'm like, Dad, chill.
Are they cool people he suggested?
Yeah, he's got good taste. He's like, oh, he got a shout out on Radio 1 the other day because
that's so cool.
He listens so much, and one of the people on the radio, Clara, had like picked up on it because like, and she like messaged me like, is this your dad? And then they met So she was on radio. She was
so
like,
cool.
she played my track, and then she was like, big shout out to Ian Lewis.
Oh.
And he was driving. He said he nearly crashed his car. He was like, oh my god. Like,
oh my god.
Yeah.
I love that.
Crazy.
So you don't have any like musicians in your family, like aunts, uncles?
Nothing. Like literally, it's really everyone's kind of bewildered as to like where it's come from in terms of me wanting to pursue music, but no one in my direct family is musical. Yeah. Which is kind of strange, and it's like it's all I ever wanted to do, and it's like I said, it's kind of everything now to not just me but my family. And my dad, like, he has so many acts that he loves now, and he loves Coldplay, and so it's kind of crazy that like that's how it's ended up now, because literally there was nothing growing up. So. When
you were still in school, you started doing like a music tech, right, for A-levels?
Yeah, right, like music tech and stuff. So yeah, that was kind of my introduction to production and stuff, I guess. Started learning how to like record bands, got introduced to like Logic 9 software and stuff, and just kind of threw myself into that. I started making really terrible dubstep remixes, and like really bad ones. Like I made like, back when Ed Sheeran was like not big, he did this like collaboration EP with like a bunch of grime rappers, and like he did this one with Get, so I remember making like a dubstep remix of that, because it was like the worst thing I'd ever heard. But then like as Ed Sheeran started to like pop off, it started to like get some views online, so I had to like delete so much offline. Like when I started the SG Lows project and I actually kind of knew what I wanted to make, I had to do some housekeeping online.
Housekeeping, damn. Yeah, but why dubstep initially?
Because it was just the thing at the time. It was like I was, what, 16 when I was like started learning to produce and stuff. And dubstep was just like, especially in the UK, it was this wave that was just completely taken out. And it was before it became like the real over the top, like bro steppy. Like it was more, when it was starting out, it was more this like underground London thing. Did
you find like producing yourself, or did someone show you like softwares?
I was listening to the music, and then because we were using the software in music tech, but then I mostly learned off of like YouTube tutorials. So then there was that like initial wave of like EDM producers, like early Porter Robinson and like Zed and stuff, and they were making the like, it's called Complextro at the time, which is all that like fidgety electro stuff. But before it became this big kind of like money making EDM thing, it was this kind of like nerdy online community of people. So I'd just be on these kind of forums and YouTube tutorials learning how to like make like a saw bass or like a sidechain compressor, and that was the main thing. I didn't really have peers around me immediately, but then you start to make friends online, and like I always find it funny because you make like producer friends online through like SoundCloud and stuff, and you know, like producers, you have these people you talk to all the time, and then you finally meet, and it's like, oh shit, like you've known them for ages, but at the same time you don't know them at all. And obviously, no, producers by and large are like introverted, slightly awkward dudes. You know, we're all people that spend a lot of time in studios by ourselves making music with a laptop. Like, it's not the most social of professions. So I always find it funny at these kind of getting togethers of like producers, and everyone's just kind of like, hey,
that's so true.
It's just like a load of awkward dudes with lots in common and who all really like each other, but all just, it's funny. How do you describe yourself back then growing up? Slightly awkward, a little bit like introverted, I guess, but yeah, it's a bit of a music nerd. Like, I kind of, all of my friends were very like sports team and like sort of rugby orientated and stuff, so it wasn't necessarily a cool thing to be doing at that time, and it kind of started as a joke. Like, I remember my nickname at school to like my friends, like in an affectionate way, but it was DJ Dickhead, because and they found it really funny. So
oh my god!
When it actually started to become a career, they find it even funnier. Like, even now, they'll come to gigs, they'll be like, "Hey, DJ Dickhead," even if it's like thousands of people, whatever, they'll still be like, "Yeah, you're a dick."
That's so funny. Would you say that your introvertedness like shapes the music that you make?
Yeah, I think as I've grown up, like I've definitely like, I think by nature I'd say I'm introverted, but I think that I'm much more kind of comfortable in myself now and confident, and I think that playing live especially has like forced me to, you know, it puts you in an uncomfortable scenario, and doing stuff like vocaling some of the tracks, then all of a sudden being forced to perform them live has really just like forced me to have to be more extroverted, especially on stage and stuff, because I remember the first time I did it, I was just like so nervous. Like I went to sing the first line, I was just like I just like couldn't do it. So, but over time you get better and you grow in confidence and stuff. So yeah, I'd say like I'd say the nature of my music, a lot of it's quite down tempo and sort of like personal and sort of intimate, and I guess that comes slightly from my own nature, but yeah.
What were your favorite subjects back then other than music?
Ooh, good question. I was good at maths. I don't know if I loved it, but I was really good at it, because I was going to go and do engineering, but it was,
oh wow.
Yeah, but like I was always very like, I thought I'd go do something traditional, but then I liked what else did I like design technology, like building shit.
Yeah, I did that too.
Just like hit
GCSEs.
I did it for A-levels.
Oh.
It was kind of like, everyone considered it a bit of a DOS, but it was good. I enjoyed it. I learned how to build shit, so I'm really good at IKEA now. So.
Really good at IKEA. And then you went to university for sound engineering, right?
Yeah, so I had the kind of Hollywood moment where my teacher sort of sat me down. He called me in at lunch, my form tutor. He was like sat on the table. He was like, "What are you doing with your life?" And I was like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go study engineering, like mechanical engineering, like maths and physics and stuff." And he was like, "You hate maths, you hate physics." And I was like, "Yeah, I do, but like, you know, I've got to go get a job." And he was like, "What about music?" And I was like, "Huh?" And I was like, "You can't make money from music." And he sort of, we sat down and we went through a bunch of options as to how, you know. So he said, "Oh, if money were no object, what would you do?" And I said, "Oh, I'd make music in the studio every day." So then he showed me sort of...
Damn, so you were like pushing that direction.
Yeah, which is like, you know, I really... To have someone do that is pretty... Oh, try not to get my nose to.
Yeah.
But to have someone to really like push you to do something creative, as opposed to, you know, so many people in life have people of influence above them tell them to do something academic, or... So I was really lucky to have someone that just said, "No, you know, fuck it, go and do what you want to do." So yeah, and then so I went up to Liverpool. So we looked at this course at LIPA, and I started studying sound engineering, which is still like super helpful in everything I do and my like production and stuff. But it was in a much more technical sense in terms of like working for other artists and setting up microphones, tweaking compressors, and like working a desk. And I very quickly realised I wanted to be making the music as opposed to just sort of accommodating other people's music. So
was uni something that you wanted to do, or did your parents kind of push you to get a degree?
I think I didn't know any other options at that point. My parents didn't go to uni, so so no one in my family had been to uni before that. So I think that there was definitely no pressure to go, but I didn't know what to do. I had no connections in music. I didn't know anyone. So really, it was my only option in terms of a forward step. I thought, hey, I can like at least if I go to uni, it's going to buy me some time to work out how to do this. And, and I met my manager Grant there. We were living in halls together. And so he was literally in the bedroom opposite me, and he was like, I started making some stuff, and he was like, let me manage you. And we were kind of like, okay, cool. And we kind of worked it out from there. And we were super lucky, and he's still my manager today.
How far on would you say you were in your career back then?
Oof, well, how far on? I'd say even now I'm like, I consider this to be like the very start. Like, hopefully, like I would be lying if I said I didn't have huge ambitions, and I always want to make music for myself, and I always will, and I'll only ever make music that I think is cool. But at the same time, like I'd be lying if I said I didn't want as many people as possible to listen to that music. So yeah, I'd like to think that it's still early stages.
And you were like a resident DJ, right? Yeah,
so up in Liverpool there's a club called Chibuku, and I was able to really like cut my teeth up there DJing, because I did a lot of the warm-ups for, you know, you'd have like big DJs like Disclosure and Tutamont and like all these big names come through to play in Liverpool, and it would be my job to kind of play from doors where you had like no one on the dance floor to up until when those people were about to go on. That was amazing. Like that was a real it's a real education in kind of learning how to DJ and like cutting my teeth and learning how to read a room and stuff. And it's kind of, it's weird now maybe being on the slot after the warm-up DJ. I was always the warm-up DJ, but I kind of miss doing it as well, because there's a certain charm to kind of starting with no one in a room, and you start, and energy-wise you start down here, and you build up until like that crowd's just at tipping point, and then you always have to hand it over to someone else to then come in, play the big tune in a moment, first song, and then the whole room would just go, ah! But yeah, if you try to take the glory for yourself too much, then you get like told off by the promoters.
Oh, true,
because the headliners will get pissed off. Or whatever. It's good. Not just that they get pissed off, it's that you're setting up the night correctly. Like, no one wants the peak of their night to be before midnight, you know? So if you're a warm-up DJ and you play the 5 biggest tunes of the moment, then you're a bit of a dick.
And then you were like doing something with like Katy Perry, right? Like this behind-the-scenes crew thing.
Oh no, hold on, sorry. Nothing to do with production. This is way before. Oh, sorry, completely, So, no, it's got we weren't working together at all. I was working as part
behind
of
the scenes.
The like literal like workman crew, like high-vis jackets, like helmets on, clearing out after her. So when I was in Liverpool for Cash, so we went down to, she was playing at the arena in Liverpool, and we had like these huge baggy like Katy Perry t-shirts, and we were like, they had like crew on the back, but it wasn't like working with her, it was literally like she would finish the concert, and we like cleared the shit out, like carried the cables and stuff like that, and like, God, I forgot about that. I still have the t-shirt at home, it's like a huge t-shirt, it says Katy Perry like world tour on it or something, but yeah, that's crazy. Oh my God, I completely forgotten about that. But she like finished the show. I remember seeing her, she came on stage and like sort of, she got like escorted past everyone, and everyone was like, wow, it's Katy Perry. And then there was this crazy moment before her encore where we had to walk out through the stadium, getting prepared for the show to end and clear the stuff. But as we walked out, it was like the feeling of walking out to like a stadium full of people, and I remember having this moment, it like sent chills at the back of my spine, because it felt like for a moment you were walking out your own like stadium headlines, and I was just in this like high-vis jacket, it's like, whoa!
That's really cool.
I've completely forgotten about that. It's crazy.
And how did you connect like while you were a student too with PMR, like Disclosures?
Yeah, so basically I was just a huge fan of them. I was a huge fan of everything they were putting out as a label, and so me and Grant, so Grant is my manager, and we were living together at uni, and we got to our second summer, and I had some tracks online, and I spent that summer just sat inside just making music and writing music, and I'd sort of finished 2 or 3 tracks, and Grant was going into some meetings. He was so the music got sent to PMR, and they called for a meeting, so I was super excited even just to be meeting those guys, and then so we walked in, played them the music, they were like, hey, do you have any more? So I played like everything I'd ever made, and they were like, okay, cool, and at the end of the meeting they were like, right, let's do this. And I thought we were just meeting, I was like, whoa, but by the end of the meeting they were like, cool, let's go. So that was amazing, you know, and to be signed by one of my favourite labels was awesome. Yeah,
didn't you play like a 2,000-year-old castle with like an
so basically I got to do it twice in one summer, which is crazy. There's this place in Ibiza called Dope Villa, which is like this old heritage site, and I don't even know if they're allowed to do gigs on it anymore, but they had like Annie Mac did a night, and then the Disclosure guys did a night there, and I got to play both nights, and it was beautiful because my set time, the sun was just kind of setting in the port, just like beyond, like over the old town, and it's just
my God, that's
stunning.
So nice.
So cool.
Yeah. And how far after was the Pharrell and everything?
God, where's that on the timeline? I think that must have been a couple months after. So Scott Venner had there's a guy called Scott Venner who does like the music supervision for Ballers, for Entourage, and he hit me up on Twitter and he was like, hey, like I want to put your track in my TV show. And I was like, cool, like, but I thought nothing of it, because, you know, like, it had been on the TV in the UK on, like, I don't know, like, Geordie Shore or something. And I've been like, whatever, like, it didn't change my life, you know? But I didn't realise how massive HBO is, and kind of the significance of, like, the sync, like, where he was putting the track in the show. So, so he kept saying to me, he was like, oh, you ready? Are you ready? And
you're like, sure.
I was like, yeah, okay, cool, like, I don't know. And then it went on, and like I wasn't aware of the influence of HBO, but my phone just like exploded.
Damn.
And, like, I just had, all of a sudden, like my streams, my like followers just like rocketed.
That's crazy.
And so then Scott also does a Scott hosts a Beats One radio show with Pharrell, so they're like best friends. So the other tone on Beats One together, and he'd been playing the track on there as well. So when I came to LA for the first time, Scott was like, "Oh shit, you should come down to the studio where we're filming." And I was like, "Okay," but I still didn't know if Pharrell was going to be there and stuff.
Yeah.
So we went down to the studio, and like I was meeting a lot of people. Then all of a sudden, this guy walks up to the circle, and it's like, "Oh, this is Pharrell," and he's like, "Hi, I'm Pharrell." I was like, just like I could hardly talk, and so he like came over, shook my hand, and he has this like lovely nature about him where he makes you feel like the only person in the room when he's talking to you. And then Scott was like, "Oh, this is S.G. Lewis. We played his music on the show." Da, da, da. And he was like, "Oh," he goes, "Thank you for the beautiful music." And I was like, I could like hardly speak, and yeah, it was like the craziest experience of my life. I still feel like that was like a dream or something.
Yeah. What would you say have been your biggest struggles so far?
Struggles? I would say I'm someone that deals with anxiety, and like I went through quite a heavy spout of it sort of start of this year for a couple of months, and just I really learned a lot about myself and how to deal with it. And I think also just learning to talk about it, you know. It's not something to be ashamed of or embarrassed by, and it's I found for myself that it's stuff like exercising every morning, drinking less, like fighting less and stuff, and just like looking after myself generally. Not to sound boring and preachy about it, but like, so I run every morning, and it's not to stay in shape or anything. I don't really care about how I look, but it's much more to do with just like clearing my head. So really the anxiety can block your like creative flow and stuff, but I'm really on top of it now, and I feel like better than I have in like ever really. But I think if anyone's struggling with it, just like don't be afraid to like reach out and talk about it. I think. Did
your anxiety come from like doing like music, or?
I think it came from the pressure. I think that like when things start going well, people get excited, and you know, it's an exciting time. I think that, you know, you can really self-doubt can really get on top of you, and you have like imposter syndrome where you're just like, wait, like I've tricked all these people, like what am I doing here? Da, da, da. I think you just put that pressure on yourself, but I think that nowadays I'm much more just like relaxed about it, and you kind of, as long as you keep making music that you like, you know, any anxiety would come from pressure to do something you don't want to do as well. I think when people get excited about a project, then there's certain expectations commercially and stuff, but the reason that you get to that position in the first place is because you've made something honest to yourself and people like it. So I think that, you know, as long as you're true to yourself and keep making music for yourself, then that anxiety is not going to appear, you know? So
last question, what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for making bedroom down-tempo electronic jams. I love that. Thank you so much. Thanks so much. We got there. The first version was terrible. Bye bye.